Welcome to Certain Point of View, your first step into a much nerdier world. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on iTunes. Just go to certainpov.com. Thanks. And now your hosts, Ben Milton and Addy Thomas.
Hey, Nerf Herders, I'm Addy Thomas.
And I am Ben Milton.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Certain Point of View. We got plenty of nerd news. We got lots of TV to talk about, a whole week's worth of TV, some new trailers to talk about. There was a new Mutants trailer, Black Panther trailer. We got TV shows like The Inhumans, The Gifted, all 4 CW shows premiered this past week. Voltron Season 4 on Netflix, and the premiere 2 episodes of Star Wars Rebels. So we got a lot to cover in this episode. But don't forget, before we get to any of that, that you should go to our website, certainpov.com. Reason being is that's the way you can find all 3 of our feeds for Certain Point of View in our podcast. There's this show, the Certain Point of View news shows. Then we also have the Scruffy Nerf Herders, our D20 Star Wars adventure.
Yep.
And Another Pass featuring our friend Case Aiken, who revisits a movie and just kind of tweaks it a little bit, whether it's good or bad. All of that is on our website, certainpov.com. Ben, I'm going to slow down for a second, though, before we get into any of this nerd stuff. Because honestly, there's something really serious I need to talk to you about. And usually I'm not in the habit of airing our dirty laundry on the podcast.
All right.
But this was pretty messed up, dude. On social media, a post. So Jenny posted a picture of Aiden wearing an ISIS headpiece for Halloween.
I told her it wasn't cool. That was the very first response to that picture was me going, Jenny, I don't think an ISIS outfit is appropriate.
I saw that and I was like, there's no way I don't end up getting blamed for this.
No, it is not an ISIS outfit. He's going as the
Ninjago.
Yeah, the gold ninja from Lego Ninjago. He's obsessed with Ninjago.
I saw that, but I hope this costume is clearly distinguishable because I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense that it's Ninjago. I've seen enough promos to tell, but I was like, oh, that's gonna be hard to explain when you're going from house to house.
Yeah. And my neighborhood is largely Hispanic.
Yeah.
So the cultural awareness is a little bit different.
That's true.
About what's going on. Yeah. So it's going to be assumed it's ISIS, that he's a terrorist. Because most of these people have never heard of Ninjago.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting Halloween in my house because Aiden is dressed as a ninja. And Melanie is dressing up as the pigeon from the book series. If the pigeon asks you to drive the bus, don't let him.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not aware of that one.
It's a great series of books. Really? It's hilarious. Yeah. It's very funny. But yeah, she's going to be the pigeon.
Okay.
Which is going to be very, very cute in its own weird way. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting Halloween in my house. Are we going trick-or-treating this year? Are you dressed up as Snorlax?
First of all, you need to you need to buy the costume, sir. If you buy the costume,
can we modify the shark costume?
How do you modify the shark costume into Snorlax?
It's blue when you're round.
Sorry, that is not all that there is to Snorlax. Snorlax has personality,
which you have plenty of.
There are many great Snorlax costumes seen at cons before, and I'm not asking for con level Snorlax costume.
To buy trees for you to roll you down the road in?
Kind of thinking about it, yeah. I mean, it's basically a mech, like being in a mech. It's basically Baymax.
Yeah, I just spray paint a Baymax. I just want to go buy you a blue footy pajamas. Is really all I feel like I need to buy you.
Yeah. I'm a short Snorlax. That's the other thing.
You're a little one, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. But next to my kids, though, you'll look appropriate.
Oh, that's true. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Right.
Although Aiden's probably going to be taller than me pretty soon.
But he's not there yet. Yeah. He's not there yet.
So, yeah, no, maybe we'll figure out something for Halloween. I wasn't planning on doing anything, but
we should do something. It's fun. It's my favorite holiday.
It is.
It's like the most Christian holiday out there.
Yeah, it's the one that we've had a lot of fun with. I mean, Admiral Akbar was.
Those pictures have been popping up in my Facebook
Me
feeds.
too. I
that
forgot
was so
like
much
for
fun.
a couple months that we just like took nonstop pictures of Admiral Akbar doing random things.
Yeah, in my office. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We should do that again. J. Mike misses it.
Well, that's because we need to do a new series with J. Mike as Vader.
Yeah, I was in New York over the weekend, and I went to the Disney store in Times Square.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see if there was any cool Star Wars stuff there, and they had a Star Wars mask, a Darth Vader mask there, that like did the breathing and stuff like that. And it looked pretty cool.
Is it the new one for like $100?
No, this one was only like $35. It was literally just like a face, like a Halloween face mask. Like it didn't even wrap around the whole head, and I was like. No, I want to
get a good one. There's a new one that they just released at New York Comic Con this year, like full on you can actually have it as a set where you can remove the faceplate and have it just like it looks like everything looks movie authentic. But you can even have it so if you wanted to reenact the death scene,
and I do,
do a harmonica solo.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, guys.
Well, you can have
time to learn the harmonica?
You can have Ben play Dying Vader, and you could play like Hayden Christensen Vader. You could do the no scene, so it's like you have him at both ends of the spectrum right there.
I'm bloated and pasty.
Right,
This could work.
It works perfectly, guys. That's what we should actually do. That just make you have you in extra pasty makeup and walk around at AwesomeCon next year
with a big scar on my head.
Right,
shave my head.
Yeah, why not?
Or just wear a bald cap.
Yeah, bald cap probably would be easier. Yeah.
I'm not opposed to shaving my head either, depending on what we
shave your head.
I'm actually going to get a new haircut this week.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
A new one?
A new one. Yeah, it's time to
tease it on Instagram?
I'm not going to tease it. It's just going to happen.
There's no promotional role. Come on, man.
To the haircut, the new haircut. Everybody vote. What do you think I should do?
Right.
It is going to be different, though.
Yeah.
It is going to, I am going to change the style. I'm not just getting a haircut.
I just hope you don't go more emo, because when you've gone emo, it's just one of those things that we have to bear through sometimes.
Emo's not the right word in the direction I'm going. I don't think it's emo.
Is it going to be Evil Ben again?
No.
Is it gonna be
is there anything other than Evil Ben?
Yeah, it's nice Ben.
That was not nice
good,
Ben.
Ben.
Well, actually, no. There's been times when you've been fully bearded that you were more Obi-Wan than.
I'm not going bearded.
Yeah,
again.
No, I know.
It's just too itchy.
I remember you mentioned.
I dislike a beard.
But there was a time where you were very Obi-Wan, and that's when I first became friends with you. So I think it was sort of like false advertising to get me to become your friend. And
fair, but to be fair though, I was on blood thinners, so I couldn't shave.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
And I've since then just been like, fuck it, I don't care if I die. To hell with blood thinners.
Right.
Let's just whatever happens. So yeah, I don't see me going back to the Jedi look.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
This will be a little more dramatic, I think.
Ooh.
I think there might be hair dye involved. I'm trying to decide that.
You know what? We're moving on. We're moving on. I don't. Clearly, we'll have if it's that dramatic, we'll have enough of a rant on a future episode. But hair dye, Ben. All right. So,
You going blue? It's gonna be blue.
No, not blue. Not blue. It will be far more subtle. I'm not doing crazy.
All right. It's probably not going to be bad, but it's probably like something that shows up in the light type of thing.
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know.
Dear God.
We're just going to kind of see what happens.
Let's move on to J. Mike's favorite topic.
Depends on the Groupon I buy.
By the way, we didn't even explain that J. Mike was here. We didn't.
Hey, J. Mike.
Oh, hey, guys.
Thanks for joining us.
Producer J. Mike has been commenting here.
So we finally just, you know what? Screw it. Just give him a mic.
Just put a mic out there for him. Yeah. Eventually, we'll go to headsets and it'll be easier.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
I know, right? So anyway, let's get to the actual news here. So we only got a couple stories, and then we're going to talk about TV and some trailers. But so rumors have been coming and going concerning Fox's Gambit movie. But Fox has finally set a release date of February 14th, 2019. Fox is hoping audiences will be as kind to Gambit as they were to Deadpool with a Valentine's Day opening. Currently, Gore Verbinski, who directed the Pirates of the Caribbean, is attached to direct, and yes, Channing Tatum is still set to star as the energy-flinging Cajun mutant.
Is anybody interested in this?
No.
No, you're not interested in not because you don't like Gambit, because you don't like Channing Tatum.
Well, because before we get to sort of our response to that, let's remind J. Mike, he's your favorite mutant, right?
He is your favorite
That
mutant.
is clearly beside the point.
No. That's
that is
important.
not beside
and you're
the point.
also a Channing Tatum hater.
So
Which
you're
there's
not
plenty
upset
of
that
company with you on that.
So you're not upset that they're making the movie. You're upset that Channing Tatum is
Because you'd be all about this movie otherwise.
Like 5 years ago, I'd have been all about this movie. But I'm kind of over it now. Plus, he's in it. And I can't really get him. That scene of him dancing from The Kingsman.
That's the dancing movie that has you. Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
For J. Mike's sake, I kind of hope they just make Magic Mike and this in the same universe, just to stick it to J. Mike.
Diabolical.
Gambit.
Right?
I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this movie too. I like the character a lot.
Yeah.
I like Gambit a lot. I don't know that I want to see a solo movie of Gambit though. Like there's a couple scenarios where I think, yeah, that's kind of a cool storyline. You and I have talked about like it being like sort of like a crime drama, you know, of the crime families and stuff like that in the Thieves Guild in New Orleans.
So crime heist movie.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what they're talking about with this movie. And that's what they've always kind of talked about, and they've continued to talk about from the last bit of news that I saw. So while this is not like a top 10 movie for me by any means, I am interested to see what they come up with, especially because I'm excited about sort of superhero movies that are outside of sort of the stereotypical superhero movie of like, all right, well, you know, here's everything is hero's journey at the end of the day, but here's your standard hero's journey template with big explosions at the end, you know. And you know, Logan did a good job with that. I think Guardians really helped set that out, especially the first one. Deadpool was very good at that. You know, I think for us to still enjoy a lot of these movies, that's the thing that they really need to do and master, is sort of really carving out, you know, niches for each of these characters and for these movies. And I think Gambit is a character that is different enough, and especially when it comes to the X-Men, who have mastered repetitive movies, this is needed. And I think he is a good character to take it into a different direction.
He is a really interesting character. Here's the other thing that I think is really positive about this news and Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum is not who I would have cast to play Gambit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who
I don't think anybody would have.
Yeah. But the fact that this guy is so obsessed with this character, and he has not given up on this film for how many years now? He's been trying to get this film made.
Like
much in the same way that Ryan Reynolds fought to have Deadpool made. And he made an incredible Deadpool. He really understood the character. He understood what would make that movie work, and he drove that bus into making it a reality. I kind of feel like
this could be good.
This could be a good thing. Like, yeah, maybe that's not my first casting choice, but the fact that he's so passionate about this character and about having this movie made kind of makes me feel like, well, he might actually have enough pull by staying so consistent with it and being so persistent with it to make a good Gambit movie.
And not just the persistent, but consistent is key, because there's been sort of a consistent vision that whenever they've talked about this movie is sort of a crime heist movie. And that's one thing I think you see in troubled projects is like all these like, oh wait, we're
it's a different writer,
it.
A different writer, and a different writer.
Every time a new director is attached to it or a new writer is attached to it, all of a sudden it shifts completely in another direction. And of course, you know, there is a certain degree of that for a collaborative creative process, but there's been a pretty good idea of what they expect of this character. It's kind of and it's matched up with the character.
For how steady that's been, it's kind of surprising the movie hasn't been made.
Yeah.
Really.
A lot of them have also been directors who've been in demand and then end up getting another project that's a little closer to being made. So I think that's also some of the nature that this there have been other more certain and more ambitious projects that these guys get. So because Doug Liman was attached to it, the guy who did Day After, what was it, the Tom Cruise movie, the Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, where he keeps getting killed?
Yeah.
My favorite Tom Cruise movie ever.
Right? Well, the last time Hulk had a solo movie was in 2008. It's almost been 10 years since our last solo Hulk movie. But Disney Marvel hasn't made a new one because the solo Hulk movie will have to be distributed by Universal as they hold the partial rights to the character. However, that isn't stopping Kevin Feige from developing, well, a pseudo-trilogy for the Hulk. Feige confirmed that there will be a 3-film arc for the Hulk starting in Thor Ragnarok, continuing in Avengers 3, and wrapping up in Avengers 4.
This is good news, right?
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I like that there's enough thought going into this character to have something of a character arc going through it.
Yeah, the way I read it was Feige came to Ruffalo and said, hey, if you were going to do a trilogy for the Hulk, what story would you tell? And Ruffalo said, well, this is where I see the character going, and this is what I would do. And Feige said, okay, we're going to do that, and we're going to just roll it into the next 3 movies and kind of like fit that in to make a Hulk trilogy, which I think is a great move. Because even in the comic books, and I'm a huge Hulk fan. Like, I love Hulk artwork. I love the Hulk story. I love the Hulk mythos. But honestly, like, after a while, like, the comic book isn't great. There's not a lot of really super great Hulk runs.
Well, there've been a couple, but
been.
I don't know if they're great for movies. If that makes sense.
Well, the character in my opinion works better with other characters around him.
Right.
When surrounded by other people, when he's just solo, it's kind of boring. It can be kind of boring. It can be kind of Banner versus Hulk can be a little. I don't know, out there, like a little too in your head, like, you know, and then, you know, they match it up with then just like him just smashing stuff and a lot of action. Whereas like when he's with the Hulk's interaction with other heroes and other villains is what's really fascinating.
Do you think that sort of the nature of a solo Hulk movie is closer to what the TV show was and to what the Ang Lee movie is?
Yeah.
And that kind of sort of intellectual nature of it doesn't lend itself to a big
summer blockbuster movie.
Yeah.
And well, this day and age.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s when we were, you know, when movies were a lot slower paced and,
right.
you know, they bothered to put plot in films. Yeah, that would have been fine. But in today's Michael Bay-esque, you know, just blow a lot of shit up and put as much, you know, loud music and loud explosions in it as you can, you know, and plot be damned. No, I don't think he works in that field, which is really weird because he's a monster who destroys stuff.
Right.
But there's a lot of intellectualism, introspective inner, you know, thought processes and stuff like that are going on that I don't think work real well in today's big screen.
So Robert Kirkman confirmed that The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead will actually cross over. One character from one show will appear in the other. Kirkman has not revealed who that character is.
All right, well, this is easy.
Okay. Yeah?
This is easy.
Who is it? Because I don't watch Fear the Walking Dead. So
it's Rick and the chick.
You think Rick is going to end up crossing over?
She's from Georgia.
Oh, right. Okay. Wait, so when you say crossover, you think like flashback?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You don't think someone is somehow going to make it over? So the timeline for Fear is still pretty early in the zombie apocalypse, right?
Yep.
So you don't think someone could make it over
and then make it back to Georgia?
Well, no. Like, let's say, like right now,
who would you have?
Rosita could totally show up. You know, because they come over from Texas.
I guess maybe. Yeah, that's a possibility for sure. But I think
you could have Abraham show up.
I think it's more likely to just be a flashback.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought. Yeah, my money was a little bit more on Abraham or Rosita because they were in
that general
region. Yeah,
but they're not. I mean, they would have to be on the far west side of Texas, down by the Mexican border, because they haven't come up across the border yet. They're still in Mexico.
Did they actually? Now, so I remember from the comics that's where they're from. I don't remember if on the TV show they ever actually said that's where they were from.
Yeah, but like when Abraham and Rosita met up, it wasn't in Mexico.
Right.
So Fear the Walking Dead would have to come up above. It could be one or the other. Would have to come up above the border and run into them for some reason.
Yeah.
But it seems like they
keep on going deeper into Mexico.
Not deeper, but they're staying in Mexico.
Yeah.
They're not. They haven't come back up across the border yet.
That's true. Well, maybe there's a reason they could.
They could. Who knows? I think it's more likely that we're going to find out that Rick and this chick are cousins or something dumb like that.
Yeah. I hope not. Yeah,
I've always suspected it.
Yeah, that's true. You did. I remember you
hinted at it. Like they've done like little hints about how she has family in Georgia and Atlanta and stuff like that.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good.
It feels like that's the tie.
See, I'd love to see Abraham in the show.
I would too. He's a great character, and I love that actor. But I don't think they're gonna.
Doesn't seem highly likely. All right, well, let's get into some of the trailers that just came out. So, New Mutants. We got a trailer for New Mutants.
We don't need no education, man. So this is interesting because you were just talking about how they need to continuously like reinvent the genre of the superhero movie. Well, this time they're making a horror movie.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's a straight up horror movie, right?
Yeah, that's a straight up horror movie.
Yeah, a little supernatural horror, I guess, is what you put that under.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, so I did read something from the director earlier today, Josh Boone, that this is sort of even like as sort of a loose trilogy of horror movies within sort of mutant stories, and each of them would pull from different horror genres.
Oh,
so this would be more supernatural and some, something I guess would
more
be more
slasher,
but. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really cool that there's that kind of thought process going on with Fox right now with sort of their mutant stories, and you're seeing it on TV, and we're starting to see it happen with the movies as well.
Yeah, it's smart. It's really smart. Like that's gonna be Fox's saving grace for mutants.
I think we're owing that not just the success of Deadpool and Logan, but the failure of Apocalypse. I think has helped maybe push them a little bit more in that direction. So hopefully they learn those lessons.
To be a little more creative in their storytelling.
Exactly.
And just how successful Legion was.
Yeah.
And how
so far The Gifted is looking really good.
Amazing. Looks really good.
Yeah.
That one's a little more on the nose, but it's really good, though.
Yeah, and it's network TV. It's what I kind of expected for a network TV show. But it
well
totally
done.
works. Yeah,
it's well done.
Totally works. So with New Mutants, though, any other thoughts? It looked like
who are the mutants that we're getting? I'm unclear.
Wolfsbane is who I think Maisie Williams is playing. Wolfsbane, so basically a werewolf.
Okay.
So we didn't see her shapeshift. I'm trying to remember the
I like
character.
the Wolfsbane character. Like that's a fun character. I've seen that character show up in a couple Doctor Strange comics and stuff like that, and it's a cool character.
Yeah,
very cool character.
The only other character that I think I think Danny Moonstar is going to be in this.
I don't know who Danny Moonstar is.
I've seen her in a couple like sort of X-Men stuff issues, but never really as a major character. But I think she was the one Native American girl that they cut to at one point. But then there is the blonde chick, and I don't know why I'm blanking on this character right now, but it's Colossus's sister.
Oh, yeah.
She's a pretty major character because she has the powers to summon demons, go to hell. I forget. I don't know why I'm blanking on this because Ilyana Rasputin I think is her continuity name, but I don't remember her superhero name right now. I've even played her character in Marvel Heroes. So.
Let's see here. Magic.
Yes, Magic with a K. That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's supposed to be Magic.
That is. Yeah, Anna Taylor-Joy is playing Ilyana Rasputin / Magic. Maisie Williams is playing Wolfsbane.
Yeah.
Alice Braga is playing Dr. Cecilia Reyes. I don't know who that is. Charlie Heaton is playing Cannonball.
So Cecilia Reyes, I feel like I remember a story somewhere.
I'm sure she's a character that
she's appeared before, but if I feel like I remember something with. Maybe I'm thinking of another character, but there was a character, a doctor, who was turned into like a half human, half sentinel character at one point.
Oh, that sounds horrifying.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's horrifying in its own right.
Right.
Okay. So we got Cannonball, Moonstar. Let's see. Proto DaCosta, Reverend Craig. Is an interesting character. Coal Miner, and that's it. Sam's dad. So those are your main characters right there. Yeah. Cannonball, Moonstar, Wolfsbane, and Magic are going to be your mutants that we're following. That's a pretty cool group of mutants to follow.
And definitely a little bit more focused on the supernatural side of things.
Most definitely, yeah.
So that'll
be fun.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm not a horror guy, but I'm going to see that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch that.
Yeah. It's not it.
It's not it.
It's
not a clown.
It's not the kind of like if a clown's in a theater by himself with a balloon, like
I'm out.
I'm out no matter, even if it's the last. Oh crap. I don't know, for The Last Jedi.
I'll wait.
Well, first off, we're not going to be alone for The Last Jedi.
Yeah, exactly. Opening night.
Everyone will bond murdering that clown and keeping it silent.
That clown's got to go. That clown's got to go. Good news is that there's an extra seat now available.
Oh, man. So, all right. So, the other major trailer just came out today. It's the Black Panther trailer. I'm extra psyched for this movie. This trailer, I wasn't quite as excited about as the last one. Yeah. I think I just like the music for the last one a little bit more because they had I think legend has it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Run the Jewels or something like
Yeah,
that.
it was Run the Jewels. And
Yeah.
this one I just wasn't crazy about the
No.
music, but I loved the content of what I saw in the movie.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. I didn't love this trailer.
yeah.
It didn't visually it was cool.
Yeah. The music just
Music
didn't work for me.
yeah. Which is fun. Whatever.
But I mean, a trailer is it's 50-50, like music and the action you see on screen. So
yeah. For they could have. I think they could have chosen a better song to do that too. But whatever. It looks cool.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
looks really, really cool. It looks
I'm
amazing.
still hyped for the movie. So
I've never been a Black Panther fan, but this looks really interesting.
J. Mike, are you a Black Panther fan?
Of course I'm a Black Panther fan. Are you not a Black Panther fan, Ben?
What's wrong, Ben?
That's what you got something to say?
Guys. No, I only like Captain America.
Did you see? I saw someone post on social media. It was someone else reposted a tweet. It was like, who can beat Nobody can name one character who could beat Captain America.
Oh, Captain Vietnam.
Yeah.
And I responded. I was like, that wasn't. I said no. I said that wasn't an actual fight. It was just a police action.
A police action, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that got me today.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not been a comic book character that I've been interested in.
Yeah, there have been a couple notable runs for him, and I can't say I know him very well, but there's enough that I kind of am familiar with. So, and they looked really cool. The tech looks really cool. The aesthetic for it looks really interesting, for it being sort of futuristic and sci-fi without looking completely detached from what Earth, from
what
Earth.
we've seen in that world. Yeah.
I think his character is like what you said with the Hulk. He works better with other characters with him because other than that, he's not very interesting.
Yeah, and it feels like from everything that I've seen, like interviews and all the promotion, there's a lot of emphasis on Wakanda and the world building and on those other characters, like the Dora Milaje, his two guards. So you have Lupita Nyong'o and
some other chick.
Michonne. She plays Michonne.
Mm-hmm.
Why I can't remember.
I
know, right?
Deny.
Well, you have Lupita Nyong'o, who's Maz Kanata, and then you have Michonne, who's played by, and I don't know why I just forgot her name.
I'll pull it up here in a second. That's why we have this thing called the internet.
Yep.
Her name is not Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett also in this movie.
Denai
Guerrera.
Yeah.
Guerrera. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yep.
So definitely I love the choice to play the Dora Milaje. Then you have Shuri, who's his sister, who at one point is the Black Panther. She's sort of like an inventor, like almost like their Tony Stark kind of thing. So I think it looks like there might even be a chance for her to also suit up alongside.
How many Panthers are going to be in this thing, man?
Like 4.
Every single one.
Well, you got the Man-Ape as well, who's going to show up.
That's the only
in
one
this
I'm excited about. It's the only one I'm excited about.
Who was on sort of this like really cool throne with all these like spears hanging. Like there's a really cool shot of him there. You got Claw, played by Andy Serkis, not doing motion capture this time.
Thank you.
Excited
about that. Nice. And you know what? It's nice to see Michael B. Jordan in a Marvel movie that probably isn't going to suck.
Right.
So thank you. I mean, that's a nice bone to throw that guy.
You think he's going to survive this movie, or he's going to die?
I think they're just happy to give him a movie that doesn't suck. As
far as a superhero movie,
yeah, they were they were like sorry about Fantastic Four. Here's a bag of cash. What role would you like to play? Sorry, the only one that's taken right now is Black Panther. You can be anybody else. And he was like, "I'll take the villain. Thank you." And he looks great.
He does.
He looks really cool. He looks like he's really chewing up scenery in that so far.
I'm excited about it.
I think it's gonna be cool. I'm excited to see Felicia Rashad. I'm excited to see Forrest Whitaker. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's just something. This cast is ridiculously good. It is a ridiculously good cast.
Yeah, I think if Samuel L. Jackson didn't play Nick Fury, he'd be in this movie.
He might be
because he complained. He complained that
he's the only black actor in Hollywood
not in this movie. Yeah, he literally said that.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, he already played Nick Fury. So I mean, maybe he will be because
give him something at the end.
well, you know what? Kevin Feige did say this movie is going to have a direct connection to what starts the events in Infinity War. So I'm very interested to see what sort of like, I guess, Wakanda revealing itself to the world maybe
like,
does.
How
on
does
that
how does that start Infinity War?
That's what I'm wondering too. So it has so I'm excited to see what that means. I have to say there is one shot though that I laugh at when I in this trailer. And it's sort of a vision scene where there's a panther.
Yeah.
It was
in
like
the trees.
Yeah,
with
with really cool colors. But
very Lion King.
Yes, I immediately thought remember, and I want to have James Earl Jones show up as a cloud. And I was like, oh no, sorry, I missed my window here.
Wrong lion. This is a wrong giant cat.
Right.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
All right, well, let's talk Inhumans. I think I might even have this ranked from least good to, we'll see how you feel about the last item on here. But the Inhumans, we had episode 4.
Yep.
What are your thoughts, Ben?
It's getting better.
Yeah?
It's getting better. It's getting more watchable. It's still cringeworthy at times.
I found myself zoning out a little bit more on this episode than I did in episode 3.
I don't like Medusa.
Yeah.
I don't like, and it was a Medusa-heavy show. And the character of Black Bolt is so difficult to get into.
Yeah.
I understand like the tragedy of the character of he can't make a sound or he will destroy the people that he loves. And he has this horrible weight on his shoulder as a result of it. But it makes for really fucking boring television for a guy who can't talk.
Yeah, and from anyone I've seen, I guess Hell on Wheels or something. Apparently, this guy's a really good actor.
He is a very good actor. Yeah, Jenny was really into that show, so I've seen him, and he's a great actor, and he's doing his best. With the dialogue they've given him,
which is not.
So like
we've got a whisper out of him so far.
Yeah, and he blew up a cop car.
Yeah,
it's okay. The Inhumans aren't really all that interesting.
Well, it's also interesting because you have Maximus, who was such a charismatic character on Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
and you can see and they're kind of trying to do similar things with his character, and you just see it working so well on Game of Thrones, and here it's falling really flat.
Well, because there's only so far you can go on network television.
Yeah,
like he couldn't rape what's her name, the princess.
Yeah,
like he would have Sansa.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Or cut the dick off of the dog or something like that.
Right.
There's just things you can't do.
Yeah.
That they're going to do on an HBO show.
Well, but there's that, but there's also he oozed charisma as well on Game of Thrones, even without take away all those heinous things. But the guy was super entertaining to watch. It was hard to not watch him even when he was chewing dialogue. Here everything feels flat in the same way that Iron Fist everything was just there was no emotional investment in it, even though
because there's not really anything at stake in this show,
and you don't really care about Adelan. A lot of the character
the whole idea of we're going to get rid of the caste system. We haven't spent enough time with the caste system to really care about any of the people.
And it's also a weird way to go on that. You're talking about this caste system, and yet your heroes are the guys who are the ones
perpetrating it.
The caste system.
Exactly. So you kind of don't know how to feel about it. You're like in this country, our culture is kind of caste system's a bad idea.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to believe that it's a good idea in Adelan for some reason.
Well, only because Maximus wants to invade Earth and take it for the Inhumans. That's the only reason why you're supposed to perceive him as a villain. And I think in theory that's supposed to make him a more multi-dimensional character and someone who is conflicted and interesting. But the problem is it doesn't play out that way.
No. No, you're right. It doesn't. He could, there's just not a lot where this story's going which shows any kind of promise.
There's also a lot of weird trails. I feel a lot of subplots that seem very extraneous and unimportant to the bigger picture.
Like what?
Karnak.
I think based on the trailer for next week, I think we're going to see where Karnak's story comes back into play.
Yeah.
Him losing his power and then kind of falling in love.
Yeah.
In the process of that, I
could open
up
some
again. I think he's the only one who is interesting.
Yeah, and that's how I was kind of feeling. Gorgon, I just didn't care about.
I didn't understand. That was the cringeworthy moment where he was like, for me, and I care about you people.
You're right.
I'm like, why the fuck do you care about these guys? Like,
well,
are you kidding me?
It never really worked to begin with these guys wanting to be like, we're gonna help defend you, man. We're U.S. Army.
Yeah, we're former soldiers, and you got goat feet. Doesn't make any sense at all. This is dumb.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. Why these guys are bonding makes no sense.
There are moments I want to like this show, but it's just it feels like a repeat of Iron Fist. Like the fights aren't good to begin with. They're really dumb. Like the moment when they confront each other in the gas tank and like super slow as anything, Black Bolt just like flips around and turns it, and they're just like, "Oh no!
Oh, don't do anything!"
Like that was as slow as a Danny Rand kung fu kick.
It was bad. It was really bad. I was like, "What is he doing?" Like, the guy kind of just walks away.
I thought that I laughed at.
I was like, "This is so stupid."
Yeah,
it's not great television. I'll be glad when it's over, and I kind of.
I'm glad it's only 10 episodes, I think, right?
Is it 10? I was hoping it was 8. I don't know if I can do that extra 2. We'll see where it goes. Like, again, it is getting better. I hate to say I hope it gets canceled because it could find its feet in the same way that S.H.I.E.L.D. did and just continuously get better.
Yeah.
But I don't have that hope for this show.
I don't
because
either.
I don't like the character. I liked the characters in S.H.I.E.L.D. I liked Coulson. I liked Ward. I liked Daisy.
Well, and then to compare it, again, like, we're looking at Scott Buck production here. Like at least with Iron Fist, there was still a certain degree that I liked Iron Fist and some of the characters, and even if you didn't, you had built up credibility for the Marvel Netflix universe to give it a chance, to try to get to Defenders, which apparently hasn't done as well, but we'll see. How that bodes for the rest of the series.
To say again, we covered this before though. Like to say it didn't do as well doesn't mean it wasn't a success.
Right. So, we'll see where the Inhumans goes. Let's go to, sort of, I guess...
Before we leave Inhumans.
Sure.
Do you think Inhumans ties into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s return?
No, I think they're going to keep it fairly isolated. I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to end up... my thought is because of the space aspect of it, it's going to... And the Kree, which, again, is a very easy tie-in to make to Inhumans. I do think that this will connect a little bit more to the movies. I'm hoping, maybe it's a vain hope at this point, but I'm hoping that there is some groundwork laid for Captain Marvel in this. I'm not too worried if this has any sort of connection to Infinity War. I'd rather them start laying the groundwork for Captain Marvel.
See, I think they tie this in with Inhumans.
You think so?
Yeah, and
I can see that
because that's been their big overarching story all along.
Yeah,
with this show is like once they got past Captain America, and the Hydra stuff, like it was all Inhumans, and they've laid that groundwork for Inhumans.
I just wish that they had just maybe introduced the Inhumans on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. itself. Like, do a season with the royal family. Go to the moon.
Right.
Go
to Adelan.
Let the Coulson, Daisy
I think
be
that's going to be curious. Like, because I think that's kind of where they're going. I think that however this season of Inhumans ends up is going to be the jumping off point for Agents. Like whatever occurs,
you think so?
Whatever occurs, like
I can see that.
Whether the royal family gets back to Adelan or whether they're forced to flee Adelan and everybody has to, they bring everybody to Earth or vice versa or whatever. It's going to be that transitional period between Inhumans and Humans and S.H.I.E.L.D. and Coulson and his team kind of negotiating that.
Yeah, my hope is that if this ends with Terra Genesis happening on Earth, the way it sort of did in the comics, then that means
that we get Miss Marvel.
Yeah, that means that like it'll have an impact on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. even though they're in space at this point, but it'll have an impact in that sort of way where we may get to see some characters
that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, exactly.
They maybe don't deserve their own show, but we get to see. Like that's one thing I do miss about early Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when it was kind of like villain of the week.
Right, you got a chance to see
different
Sif.
or you got to see the Gravitron
Right.
Like that stuff was really cool. I'd like to kind of get back to that stuff too.
Right. All right. Well, so another mutant-like show. We've got The Gifted. I am loving this show. It's definitely it's not paint by numbers by any means, but it's network TV, so it's the same.
It's a little more straightforward.
Yeah. But I really, really enjoy this show.
I do too.
I like the world building that they're doing in this show, as far as like the situation and the universe that this is in, and how cool it is that we're seeing sort of. This is what I liked about Rogue One and how it relates to the bigger Star Wars universe, was that we're seeing sort of the everyday people rather than the superstars of the universe. Luke Skywalker, the Skywalker family drama is always going to drive Star Wars, but seeing what sort of like more normal people in the Rebel Alliance, both in Rogue One and in Star Wars Rebels, has been really cool. And that you don't necessarily need the main characters to drive the story. And I feel that this is doing this with sort of mutant characters is really working for me as a family drama as well. And I saw cameos of and actually pretty major roles of people I saw in Burn Notice as well. So it was like, oh, there's a familiarity too.
Right.
So
there's a lot of familiar actors in this show.
Yeah.
And the cast is great.
Yeah.
The cast is really great. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the situations that they've put them in. Having like Blink's power going haywire.
So much fun to watch that.
Yeah, the graphics were really good. They spent some money on the graphics.
Yeah.
Like this is one thing that I've noticed is that Fox paid attention to ABC and went, we got to up the budget a little bit on these shows. Like you can't, have things look that bad.
I think Fox has always been willing to spend on their action shows too, because they've been willing to do it on shows like 24 and Prison Break. And I think that it's carried over. I think some networks are better at certain types of genres than others. Yeah. NBC used to be really great at comedy. If you want a crime show, go to CBS.
Right, yeah. If you love CSI,
if you like an action adventure show, go to Fox. I mean, they did Sarah Connor Chronicles on that, and they did 24 and Prison Break, and those are fun TV shows.
What was that Jessica Alba show too? They did that a long time ago, where she was
I know what you're talking about.
That was like her big break.
Yeah,
I forget what that was. A James Cameron show.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you're right. They do have like a history of
Dark Angel.
Dark Angel, exactly. Yeah. A history of kind of doing that, and this fits right into that, and it's good. Like the story so far has been really good. The action has been good. The acting has been good. I've got no complaints at all about this show.
And I like some of the smaller moments that they do on this show as well. There was the flashback to the scene at the bowling alley. That was a really sort of cool, like I thought it was a really interesting way of how they're sort of handling how people perceive mutants.
Right.
It was a really, really kind of cool angle on the story, and it's just we've talked plenty about mutants in this episode and the sort of different angles that Fox is bringing to it, and I think this is just a great example of
this
that.
Is a great lens to tell that story through. I'm a big fan of this show. I'm actually right now Legion is my favorite. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right behind that, and then this is like a third for me. Yeah. And the thing I love most about it so far, there is not a love triangle.
That's right. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Take note, CW.
Well, that's a perfect lead-in. I know you haven't watched any of the CW shows. They all just premiered last week, all 4 of them.
Yeah.
So I did.
What'd you think?
I watched Supergirl, I watched Flash, I watched Legends of Tomorrow, and I watched Arrow.
I got room for 2. Which 2 should I pick up based on what you just saw? Break it down for me. Like what's one or 2 good things about each one of those shows? And I'll decide which one I'm gonna go.
Supergirl has always been there's a lot of heart on that show. They're having to carve out right. They're having to carve out a lot of moving on to the next story. I'm kind of interested to see what the villain is, but I don't necessarily understand this villain, and it's not a villain that I'm familiar with. Rain is the name of the villain. R-E-I-G-N.
She beat people with what t-shirt contests?
R-E-I-G-N.
Oh, different.
That's why I just realized you were going to go in that direction.
It is a CW. I had to ask.
But it was sort of interesting when they kind of
Mike, you're the Superman fan. Who's Rain?
I have no idea.
Well, he's not a Supergirl fan. He'd be better if he was a Supergirl fan.
I can't tell the difference.
Well, so you're dealing with the loss of a major character from last season, sort of a Daxamite, which is like the planet, I guess, near Krypton that was destroyed, and they have a very different society from them. But she fell in love with this character who's a Daxamite, but he had to leave. He's not dead, but he had to leave Earth because of like some sort of element that they had to release in the air to get rid of his parents who were going to conquer Earth. So Terry Hatcher, I guess they killed Terry Hatcher. And so she had to break up with
Her boyfriend.
Yeah. And this boyfriend, I couldn't stand all season long. He was so annoying. I never liked the story with him to begin with.
Okay.
I don't know if this is just me trying to sort out feelings for Melissa Benoist.
Hashtag jealousy.
Right? But he
got jealous eyes, Addy. You got jealous eyes.
But a lot of it distracted from some of the cool storylines that was going on with Martian Manhunter. And so his story kind of got lost in the mix of it. Like they started out with some really cool stuff with him last season, and then it all kind of got lost in it. And then they also sort of have her sister who has a lesbian lover, and now getting married. So that's been a big story. So there's a lot of like very political push
Heavy
in this
drama.
show. Yeah, on this show, and it always was in part of this show's DNA. But at the end of the day, there was a lot of like, okay, the positivity of who Superman and Supergirl are, and that symbol is what's so important. And so that was handled well on this show. But I'm starting to like, all right, like if you just get
more than that.
Well, I need them to get past the teen drama stuff.
But it's CW.
And it's CW, and it's so heavy in this show.
This is why I stopped watching the CW shows, to be honest with you. I was like, I'm not in it for the soap opera.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind it being there. Like, I get it. It's CW. You got to you got to sell the sponsors. I get it. But not everything needs a love triangle, right? or like just tell a story sometimes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And when they ignore that stuff, it's been a good show. Like there was moments where they had Kara as she's been a reporter for a long time as well for a newspaper. Honestly, what's her face? Ally McBeal, I forget her.
Harrison Ford's wife.
Yeah, Calista Flockhart.
Yeah.
She was actually one of the best things about the show in season 1, surprisingly, because she brought a lot of attitude and a lot of cynicism, but yet some of like the essence of some of the heart. I was surprised that she was actually
she's a great actress.
Yeah, she was really good, and so her also not.
You'd have to
be
to pretend that Harrison Ford's sane.
Well, her not being on the show has really hurt the show.
Oh, she's not on the show anymore.
Well, once they went to the CW, once they went from CBS to
she
CW,
didn't make the cut.
Yeah, well, she showed up later on last season, and those were some of the better episodes that they did.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you haven't sold me on this show. What's the next show?
Yeah. So don't. Yeah, I know you're not going to watch this show. I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
There's no point. Then there's The Flash, which is fun because I like the chemistry of the ever-growing Team Flash, because apparently they can't keep a secret in Central City, but they have chemistry. Like I think if they ever killed off Joe and Cisco, I would probably be done with the show. But it does suffer from having a lot of characters, and where we leave off with this last story was, Barry was lost to the Speed Force, and he's not supposed to be able to come back. But this new villain, who is not a speedster, thank God, is on the scene. So I'm excited for what's coming up. But they had to do a lot of work to like, all right, we got to bring Barry out of the Speed Force and now make him sane again, because like he was like totally like seeing everything all at once type of thing, and now they got to make him human, like relevant to people again, which was sort of interesting. But it's also one of the things that sucks that you can't have a character like. I know this was never going to happen because Grant Gustin's the lead. You're not going to take a whole season off and say, well, Barry's left in the Speed Force. Let's try to figure out what we can do without Barry. And that was actually really fun for the first like 15 minutes of the show when they hadn't brought Barry out of the Speed Force, Team Flash trying to figure out how to work without the Flash.
Yeah.
Even though they had Wally, so they did have a Flash.
It's like when they killed Ollie in Arrow, and you were like, "Oh, this is gonna be it's over."
Yeah, pretty much. Like it was actually a whole lot better than that because like the struggles that they were having without Oliver, without the Flash, were actually really good. The new team dynamic was really interesting. If they had even done just 3 episodes with it, it would have been worth it. But
they did 15 minutes, huh?
Yeah, so that was the only thing, my only gripe. But again, seeing that whole team together is really
it's a great
cool.
cast. Again, another show with a great cast.
It really is, and so that I'm on board. The Thinker is the new villain, so he's not a speedster. You had a robot samurai as the villain of the week, who could fly around and have energy pulses out of his samurai sword. So there's that element of crazy it's just fun,
right?
And that leads in perfectly to Legends of Tomorrow, which is just fun. Who cares about continuity? At this point, it's just what era in history are we going to go to? Like you have
it's basically Quantum Leap with superheroes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And but like you had Julius Caesar who somehow got lost on the beach at Aruba, and there's a frat party there in togas, and he's trying to lead a revolution with these guys. And they have to get him back. and they have to return him back to his time, but he somehow like screws everything up because he gets access to a book about the rise and fall of Rome. Like they find out that he's ended up conquered the actual known world and unknown world because they made the mistake of him getting access to this book. I mean, it's just fun. Like forget all the time breaking stuff they do. This cast is fun. It rotates out. They are super cheesy. These are bottom of the barrel superheroes, but they just have a blast with
Who
the
all's
show.
on it? It's still it's not Captain Cold. He's dead.
Cold
right?
is dead, but they still have Heatwave.
Heatwave.
So and he's
that actor's fantastic.
He's hilarious.
He's funny.
Yeah.
You got Adam.
You have Adam. You have Citizen Steel.
Is Firestorm still there?
Firestorm is still there, but it looks like
Both
they
of
maybe
them, right?
change. Yeah, but they maybe
It's
so
for
Victor
the Matrix?
Garber, I heard, is going to be leaving the show. So but Firestorm changes out some of who the people are.
Like
Right.
they switch up the Matrix.
Yeah, so I think that's probably going to happen. They've kind of hinted at that already. This with the new episode. You have what's her name?
Oh, White
The Land
Canary.
Sister, White Canary, who I love.
Yeah, she's
So
amazing.
she's awesome. They had Vixen on it last year, but they wrote her off in this premiere episode. There's a big dynamic shift from the way sort of this whole time hunters thing works now from previous seasons.
Are they still doing the whole thing like we got to catch what was the name of the bad guy they were hunting in season 1?
Vandal Savage?
Yeah.
No, they took care of Vandal Savage. He's done.
Then what are they doing?
They took care of Reverse Flash. Now it's just like
They took care-
so there's
What?
there's a new villain that's coming. They just hinted, but they haven't said who it is.
So what are they doing? They're just bouncing around in time just for the fun of it?
Well, because they're also time bandits and all pirates and all sorts of stuff like that. So they have to fix that.
Are they bringing Booster Gold?
There's rumors that they might.
Oh my god!
If they bring Booster Gold, I would be really excited.
This show has the best potential so far.
It's just plain fun. They did an episode. I think I told you last year. The mid-season premiere involved convincing. Like it was. They just had to convince George Lucas. Like George Lucas got visited on set by the Reverse Flash, and was basically he decided to not become a filmmaker, which inspired. So 2 of the characters. So you have Adam, who's a scientist who was inspired by Star Wars to become a scientist. And you had Citizen Steel, who's a history professor who's inspired by Indiana Jones to get into history. So because those movies didn't get made, they have to convince them to make Star Wars. They had to convince them to be a filmmaker.
Heroes.
Yes.
Back to the Future.
I mean, yeah, it's Back to the Future every week. I mean, it's just like
It's Quantum Leap with superheroes.
yeah, like it's just straight up fun.
All right, I'm in on that one.
Yeah,
I'm in on that one.
It's super cheesy, super over the top, but you get a fun fight here and there, and
You sold me on that one. That one sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Julius Caesar on the beach.
It's really there's some really funny stuff with that one.
All right, so Arrow.
I zoned out.
Oh, that good.
I can
Well, that's a
tell.
hell of a sell, Addy.
I'm telling you, Flash and Legends of Tomorrow is all you got to stick with on that one. I want to say that it feels like, oh, there might be an endpoint to this story with what they're talking about, but I don't believe that they will.
I think it's making too much money for them to end.
Yeah, and so there's also like there's a big explosion at the end of last season that's like supposed to wipe out almost all of Team Arrow, but of course, like in 5 minutes you find out they're all alive without even seeing how they were supposed to die. Mm-hmm. But the only person who dies is I don't know if you were. I don't think you were watching long enough for this, but Ollie has a kid that he doesn't know about, and the mother dies. And so he's now raising this kid, and this kid isn't, so now he has got like, oh, I got to be a dad, or I got to be a superhero, but I'm also mayor. And it's just like, I don't know if I can.
Yeah, I'm over that
Ollie's the mayor now?
Yeah, he's the mayor, which is a comic storyline.
Yeah.
And you had Slade Wilson come back for a bit, and if Slade was on the show, I think I'd be so much more
amazing,
excited.
yeah.
Because that was also a cool part of the finale last year was you had the return of Deathstroke, and Deathstroke is such a cool character.
Yeah,
and
Manu
Bennett,
he's an
so
amazing
good.
actor. Yeah.
So it was really disappointing. Like he had like a 2-minute scene in this episode. If there was more of him, maybe I'm probably gonna keep up for the sake of continuity, but I don't think I'm gonna keep up week to week. I might just do it in like, all right, here's 2 or 3 episodes at a time
on the background and not pay close attention.
But The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow, I think, are where it's at for me right now. I'm happy with those shows.
I think I'm more interested in Legends of Tomorrow.
That was your best sell. That was your best sell.
Well, and that's what was the strength of season 2. I mean, like even the finale for season 2 didn't even make sense with how they beat the guy, the Reverse Flash. And it was a full on like it was basically a Legion of Doom because it was like Reverse Flash, Malcolm Merlin, and Damien Dark. So it was a really like 3 major villains that they've had on all these shows. So it was fun seeing the 3 of them like backbiting and having to work together against the Legends. So, and it didn't make any sense the way they beat them, but I didn't care. Yeah.
It was still fun.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, there's your CW TV universe. All right, so here's sort of the 2 things that I was most excited about this past week, especially if you saw any of our Instagram this past week. Voltron Season 4 was really more of the continuation of Season 3. Like, it really feels...
3.2.
Yeah, but honestly, I view Season 3 and 4 as one big season after watching the whole thing. I know you've only watched 2 episodes. Let me let you...
It does. It just picks up right where it left off. Like you're right. It doesn't feel like there's been a time gap or there's anything dramatically different. It's just like next episode.
Right.
Which is makes sense. It's a binge show. It's Netflix, so they're assuming people are just binging this thing, and you're not going week to week or waiting 6 months for the whatever.
Right.
The first 2 episodes were great. Really good.
And there are only 6 episodes.
Right, so I'm a third of the way through the entire season and in less than an hour.
Yeah.
I like where they're taking it. I like the time that they're spending with the characters. Like the first episode is very Keith oriented. Second episode is very Pidge oriented. Yeah. And they're great. Like this is a great storytelling show.
Yeah.
Like we've raved about this show in the past.
It's still
one of just as strong. Yeah.
Still easily one of the best shows on TV on Netflix right now. I will say there are a couple issues, before that, some of the positives, and I'll do all of this without revealing any spoilers since you haven't finished the season. It does answer some of my issues that I had with season 3, where season 3 was so serious that some of the fun episodes, like the mall episode from season 2, was such a fun episode. There was a really fun episode in this season. Absolutely incredibly hilarious. I absolutely love this episode. And then like some really great emotional episodes too. Continuing on actually Pidge's story, her backstory. So there's some major developments on that front, which are really cool. And you know what's funny is they actually sort of Dark Knight Rises you a little bit, but it totally worked.
It pays. This one pays off.
This one totally pays off. So I was happy with that. I will say, that it is unfortunate that they had to zoom through certain characters' development a little quicker than I would have liked.
Yeah.
Lotor's a really fascinating character, but they run through things just a little too quickly for him. And I won't say anything more because I don't want to spoil that.
There yet. Yeah.
But it would have been nice to spend more time to develop him as a villain. But yeah, we'll see.
I suspect they will.
I still have hopes for that. I think there's plenty of time for them to do that because what they do a great job on this show is there's the dynamic, but they know how to constantly flip it and re-angle it and still keep it fresh.
Yeah.
So that the status quo doesn't last, and I like that. And there's a lot of like really cool underdog Star Wars type spaceship battles moments that are amazing. I actually read one thing interesting today, though. Apparently, the producers did not want to bring Shiro back this season. Apparently, the pressure came from DreamWorks to bring him back this season, because they were selling action figures with him this year.
Shiro's a badass.
He is.
He's so badass.
He really is.
I'm glad he's back.
I am too, but I would have
Shiro.
loved to see what they had to do. But you know what? This is the compromise that's part of creative collaboration.
Right.
So,
And when toys are involved.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? For good animated TVs,
I'll take Voltron
and
any day.
Remembering what happened with Green Lantern, you know, I will go out and I'm gonna buy some of these toys.
Buy some Shiro toys.
Because I don't want the show to get canceled because people didn't buy toys. Damn
I will buy all the Shiro toys.
So there was we didn't get paid for any of that product placement. So
Not yet.
Not yet.
Call us. We're available.
Right? Yeah. Let us know, DreamWorks. And then leading into our final TV show / story of this, begun the final season of Star Wars Rebels has.
It has. And pretty good. I didn't love it. I wasn't like, oh my God, that was amazing.
I was totally raving about it.
Were you really?
Yeah. You know what helped, though? Right before I watched these episodes, I rewatched some key episodes from season 3. So I rewatched 0 Hour. So that was the 2-part finale. But I also rewatched Twin Suns. But then I watched the 2 episodes about Mandalore, The Trials of the Darksaber, and The Legacy of Mandalore.
Yeah.
And those 2 episodes, I think if I hadn't watched it, I might have been a little bit of like, oh, okay, it was good, but not great.
So here's my. We're gonna go spoilers on this one.
Yeah, full on spoilers.
Here's my problem with this. These 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And they're very minor problems, really. It was just enough to take it from great to good for me.
Yeah.
Which was you had the belief that with the new weapon, her mom had been killed with the new weapon. And again, 30 seconds later, you find out she lived.
Right.
I thought it would have been far better storytelling, far more emotionally impactful, and make more sense for Sabine's character if her mom had actually been killed.
Yeah, mom and brother, yeah.
Mm-hmm. For her to be like vengeful and angry and not feeling like she was worthy to be the ruler of all the Mandalorians, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing that really bothered me was they brought in a character who is Satine's sister.
Yeah.
Who's Obi-Wan Kenobi's ex-girlfriend, who was once the ruler of Mandalore, who was murdered and killed. And they picked an actress who has absolutely no ability to emote any kind of emotion or likability. And they make this chick the ruler of Mandalore just based on the fact that her sister once was.
You don't remember her from Clone Wars?
No.
What?
I don't remember her at all.
She was part of Death Watch.
She was so uninteresting.
See, I disagree, and maybe that's just because I remember her character arc from Clone Wars, and so it is very dependent on what, again, the universe outside.
Right,
of
and I felt like this was.
story.
Here's how it came across to me.
Yeah.
It felt like Filoni and company were like, "Man, we did some really cool shit in Clone Wars. Let's do a callback." It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
because I didn't remember her.
Yeah.
I didn't remember her being in. I didn't remember her as a Death Watch character. I remembered Satine. I remember Satine.
Yeah.
I didn't remember she had a sister who was completely uninteresting and had no personality. And the voice actress they got is the worst fucking actress I've ever heard in a cartoon. Her reads are so dry. Listen to her reads. It's like, and I want to become the ruler of Mandalore. Her delivery is
what's her face?
awful.
Starbuck from the more recent.
Yeah, that's fine, but her reads in this, the way they directed her reads in this, are awful. Awful.
I am going to disagree a little bit with you just because there is like the Mandalorian thing with how they conduct themselves, and again, I totally get your complaint, and they're completely legit. but because it was a nice, I felt it was a nice reward for being a faithful fan. There was enough exposition to explain why she was in that position. Because if you didn't know that Obi-Wan was related, like you didn't, if you're going based purely on that explanation, you have no idea of Obi-Wan's connection to it. You happen to know just enough to remember, okay, yes, Satine, Obi-Wan, like there's significance in her taking that blade because that is the blade that was used to kill her sister right in front of her too. You know, so there was that.
But you see, you're contradicting yourself. You're saying like
no, but see, for me, that stuff works though.
Yeah, but that works because you know it. As somebody who didn't remember that, I was like, who the hell is this chick, and why does she like? It didn't make sense. Like you spent all this time last season of getting Sabine, to be the ruler of Mandalore with the dark saber.
I see
that all this time.
That I didn't get though, because there was a lot of indication that she wasn't going to be. Especially when I watched those 2 episodes, that she was going to be the one to find the person to be fit to be the ruler, but she wasn't going to do it. That wasn't her role. That she was just there to find the next person. And I felt that that's what this all kind of led to. And I'm loving the way they worked in a compelling arc for Sabine, especially with her relationship with her family, that dynamic, and sort of the politics of Mandalore. Plus her role in, you know, creating the super weapon and all of that. So it worked for me. But see, again, it works because I know the connections. It's rewarding for me, you know, because I know about Bo-Katan and how, she was sister, betrayed her sister, worked with Death Watch, imprisoned her and everything. When her sister was murdered, she turned on Death Watch and Maul and helped the Republic try to take back Mandalore. So it's like, so knowing all of that, I was excited to see her come back. I was excited to see them bring, you know, all the Mandalorian clans together. I don't expect them to do anything more with this season. That this is just sort of like, and this is sort of our resolution to Mandalore. There's more questions for what happens with Mandalore and the Rebellion, but it's not relevant necessarily to our Rebels crew.
I thought it was an easy excuse for them to put Sabine back with the Ghost crew.
Yeah, but I think I think that was always. I think it was a matter. I think this is very similar to some of the issues with Rogue One, but it met my expectations, but I had certain expectations. So because I was aware of that, and that's, if you're not expecting those things, if you don't know that these connections are going to be made, then I could totally see this being a sort of a lackluster episode.
It wasn't lackluster. It was good. Yeah. It was entertaining. It was fun. It was exciting. Yeah. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
It wasn't great because it didn't logically make sense.
Yeah. At
the end of the day, there was just like some character motivations just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
To the, you know, in the whole scheme of things, from just not like if you're just watching Rebels, if you haven't seen,
exactly,
if you're just watching Rebels, and I'm sorry, every show should be able to stand on its own without the reference of I know what happened in Clone Wars.
Right. And I that's why again I sympathize with that. But for me, as someone who's a fan, I felt rewarded. Again, I agree it's not a great reason, but I totally dug it. I loved it. I felt it carried on.
I feel like they really upped their game this season, these 2 episodes, with the action, with the graphics.
Yeah.
Like the fighting that was going on with the Mandalorians and the stormtroopers
stuff.
And stuff like that was amazing. And they did some really long extended fight scenes.
Yeah.
I will say like one other little, and it's Disney XD, but stormtroopers,
they're not killing them.
Yeah, they just cut their guns off.
Yeah,
they cut their guns in half, and the stormtroopers fall over.
I thought that was a really interesting thing because I was thinking about that too when I was watching the episodes. Because they kill TIE fighter pilots off left
and right. Yeah, those guys.
They've taken down Star Destroyers left and right.
Yeah,
you know,
but not a stormtrooper. You get to shoot him in the shoulder or in the gun, and that's it.
Yeah, but like. I think that's also something we have to recognize as part of it being a kids' show.
Kids' show. It is on Disney XD. Yeah.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I know. I feel like, okay, come on. Like, you can at least show. I felt like
there was more violence in Clone Wars.
Late Clone Wars.
Especially, yeah.
Yeah, but it was late Clone Wars. The thing is, most of the time you saw them destroying droids. Usually you didn't see them kill actual...
Which is exactly why they went to droids, is because they could kill those things and nobody bats an eye.
Right.
Because it's just a robot. Right. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. I get it. After a while, you're like, how many guns can they cut with a lightsaber, and the guy just like, are they assuming like you're thinking that they cut their hands off?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
is that what they're
I know.
insinuating?
I think they could have afforded to try to be a little bit more creative to cut away when they needed to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
Or have someone caught in an explosion without the. You see them.
Get
There's always a lot of
It's like watching the A-Team.
Yeah. There's a lot of
A-Team happening right now. It's really what it is.
Shooting a lot of bullets without hitting anybody.
I keep waiting for who's the Lasat? What's the Lasat's name?
Zeb? Oh, he
Zeb.
always just knocks him out.
I keep waiting for Zeb to be like, I pity the fool. And just because that's the character he is. It's a good show.
Yeah, it is.
I'm excited for the rest of the season.
I mean, it's definitely one of my favorite shows on TV right now.
I'm nervous to see where they take it.
Yeah, you know what? I have a lot of confidence in Filoni.
I'm not nervous because I don't think it'll be good.
Yeah.
I'm nervous because I don't want any of these characters to die.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like some of them kind of have to die.
It feels like it, right? You know what?
I'd be a little disappointed if they didn't.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm nervous to see how this wraps up, and we're supposedly gonna see some Ahsoka this season, so
that's always a good thing.
Yeah, so we'll find out, because I went on a full-on Rebels binge going into this, and I rewatched the entire series going into it. So
we'll see where it goes. I hope it pays off. I think it will. It'll be fun.
So coming up in the next few weeks, or actually really only one, on I guess the next big thing is The Walking Dead is coming back on the 22nd.
Yep.
So this Sunday. I don't think we have any new premieres.
Are you gonna watch it?
Yeah, of course.
You gonna watch it live?
Oh no, I've never watched any of it live.
Oh.
I don't think.
I feel like I'm gonna.
Well,
I feel
that's
like
because
Jenny's gonna make me. Yeah, Jenny's gonna make me.
Yeah, but I don't.
And there's nothing else to do. There's nothing else to compete against it.
Yeah,
right
I don't
now.
watch a whole lot of TV live though. Like I just don't tune in at that time. It's easy for me to pull it up on a computer later. Even if it's half an hour later or an hour later or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just that's more convenient for me. So, I mean, it's highly likely I'll watch it that night, but I just probably won't see it live.
Do you think this season's going to be good?
I hope so.
I have very low expectations.
I know you don't. I still enjoyed what they've done. I haven't fallen off. My opinion hasn't really fallen for the show. And again, I've always said as a comic book fan, I think that's maybe an unfair thing. And as someone who enjoys those arcs that they went through in the comics, and I'm enjoying seeing the way they play it out on TV, both in its variations and in how they hold true to some of the essence of that story. So, I mean, I totally enjoy it. My only hope is that All Out War is the whole season and not just the first half of the season. But I think it's going to be the first half of the season, so it might be over pretty quick. That trailer is totally different in tone. It's like, I mean, it felt like what was it? I'm going up to Boston. I forget the
Dropkick Murphys.
Yeah, the Dropkick Murphys. It felt like you were listening to the Dropkick Murphys, which like every other trailer has been so melodramatic. So it feels like a complete shift in tone. But that also is sort of All Out War is a little bit more. I mean,
feisty. If you're gonna have All Out War
with a tiger and Negan,
and then just try to make it like a big melodrama of everybody being moody, that's gonna suck.
Yeah. So you need the shift, and I'm excited for that. If it plays out well, if they deliver on that tone that trailer delivered,
could breathe a lot of life back into that show.
I'd be all for it. I don't expect a whole lot of people to necessarily come back. I think they're just kind of done. They saw what they wanted to see, and that was fine. But I'm still on board for this show. So,
all right, cool.
Yeah. Let us know what you think. If you want to be a part of this, the podcast, help us out. If you like it enough, please share it with other friends and family, other nerdy associates of yours who would enjoy discussions like this. You can also be a part of it through Patreon if you are compelled enough to do that. We are probably going to be sending a few more exclusive episodes soon in the near future. So be sure to check that out. That's just for our patrons. But you can find out all about that, all our social media, Patreon, all our podcast feeds are on our website, certainpov.com. And until next week, stay scruffy, my Nerf herders.
Thanks for listening to Certain Point of View. Don't miss an episode. Just subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on iTunes. Head over to certainpov.com.